This is the fourth video on constituent structure, and in this video we'll look at some further tests for working out the constituent structure of a sentence. Okay, the first test that we can look at is the substitution test, and this is a very useful test to test for noun phrases and prepositional phrases. And the test goes as follows: personal pronouns, which are actually going to be a subcategory of nouns. Yeah, pronouns. Actually, as we've already seen, they can replace noun phrases. So you can use that to check whether a stretch of words is a noun phrase or not. So if you take a sentence like John gave a book to his friend, yeah, then you can say he gave a book to his friend, or John gave it to his friend, or John gave a book to him or to her. Yeah? And that shows that all those stretches of words are actually noun phrases. Yeah, John is a noun phrase, a book is a noun phrase, and his friend is a noun phrase. So if you can replace a word or a stretch of words with a personal pronoun, then it must be a noun phrase. So have a go. Here's a sentence: her grandmother liked the photograph of the Queen. Okay, how many noun phrases did you find? I hope you found 3. Here they are. You can say she liked the photograph of the Queen, so that means that her grandmother is a noun phrase. You can also say her grandmother liked it. And what's the it then? Well, of course, the photograph of the Queen. So that's our second noun phrase. And you can also say her grandmother liked the photograph of her. Yeah. Now that replaces the Queen. Yeah, so the 3 noun phrases are her grandmother, the photograph of the Queen, and the Queen. Now, if you've got the photograph, which is a determinant and a noun, so at first sight that looks like another noun phrase. But if you try a test, it doesn't work. You can't say her grandmother liked it of the Queen. Yeah? So, and that's correct, because in this sentence, the photograph is not a noun phrase. Now, we also have words that we can use for replacing prepositional phrases. Yeah, so we can say the proform there replaces a prepositional phrase denoting a place or a path. So you can say he went to school, he went there. And then replaces prepositional phrases denoting time. So you can say she arrived at 5 o'clock, she arrived then. Yeah. Unfortunately, there aren't any words that we can use to check other prepositional phrases. But if you can replace a stretch of words with there or them, and it contains a preposition, that is of course part of it, then it must be a prepositional phrase. Nota bene, that means take care. If you can't replace it, that does not necessarily mean that it's not a prepositional phrase. Yeah? So if you can replace a stretch of words with there and then it must be a prepositional phrase. But if you can't, it's not necessarily not a prepositional phrase. Okay, try it. Sue met John at the bus stop in the afternoon. Now, there's 2 stretches of words that you can replace. You can say Sue met John there in the afternoon. Yeah? Or you can say Sue met John at the bus stop then. Or even Sue met John there then. Yeah? So the prepositional phrases here are at the bus stop, that tells you where she met him, and in the afternoon, that tells you when she met him. Okay, if we think about adverb phrases, we can use the movement test. And that's actually one thing that we've tried to do, that we try to find adverbs, but actually what we've been doing is finding adverb phrases, because it's the phrases that can move around. One proviso with the movement test is they can't interrupt other constituents. So if you look here at the sentence, the boy ran out of the door quickly, or the boy ran out of the door very quickly. Yeah, you can say the boy ran very quickly out of the door, the boy very quickly ran out of the door, very quickly the boy ran out of the door. But what you can't say is the boy ran out very quickly of the door. Yes, because you're interrupting a prepositional phrase, out of the door. And you can't say the very quickly boy ran out of the door, because there you are interrupting a noun phrase. Now, adverb phrases can move quite freely. You can also use the movement test, just seeing if you can move something for other constituents. Now all you can do then is establish whether a stretch of word is a constituent, not what type of constituent it is. Yeah. But if you take a sentence like John saw a pelican on the beach, you can, within the verb phrase, you can sometimes move something to the front of the sentence. So you could say, on the beach John saw a pelican. Yeah. Or even, a pelican John saw on the beach. Yeah. Now, that's the first one, on the beach John saw a pelican. You've moved a prepositional phrase out of the verb phrase to the front. In a pelican John saw on the beach, you've taken a noun phrase and moved it to the front. Yeah. What you can't do is move a VP to the front, the verb phrase itself, because that would break the overall rule of what a sentence consists of. Remember, a sentence is a noun phrase and a verb phrase, and there may be an auxiliary. If you moved the VP to the front, then the sentence structure would be VP NP, and that's not possible in English. Yeah? So you can't say, saw a pelican on the beach, John. Okay, so the movement test here, it's quite good for finding adverb phrases, but it's got limited use for other constituents. Okay, but just try it anyway. Can you move stretches of words to the front in this sentence? Mary walked the dogs in the park regularly. Well, you can start with the adverb phrase, that's regularly, and look, you can say regularly Mary walked the dogs in the park, so that works. You can also move the dogs. You can say the dogs Mary walked regularly in the park, but not the cats. Yeah, so, or in the park Mary walked the dogs regularly. So that all works. What you can't say is the dogs regularly Mary walked in the park, and also regularly in the park Mary walked the dogs. And that shows you that those stretches of words are separate constituents. They don't form one constituent together. Okay, now how about adjective phrases? Now, what we've been saying about adjectives really applies to adjective phrases. Yeah, so the test for finding adjectives also helps us to find adjective phrases. Yeah, because adjective phrases can occur before nouns and after a copular verb, yes, like to be or seem, or appear. Yeah, so you can, the rather boring movie, rather boring here is an adjective phrase inside a noun phrase. And the same with my oldest friend. Oldest here is an adjective phrase inside the noun phrase. Yeah, after a copular verb you get this paper is very smooth, or Simon is clever. Yeah. Okay, now, is there a test for adjective phrases? Well, you could try the conjunction test. And the conjunction test is one you also have to be a bit careful with, but when used properly it works well, because you can conjoin a phrase with another phrase of the same type using and. So if you've got the rather boring movie and you want to test whether that's an adjective phrase, use another adjective phrase and then conjoin it. So you can say the long and rather boring movie, and that works. So you've got an adjective phrase and an adjective phrase. Or something like, this paper is very smooth, this paper is white and very smooth. Yeah, so you've conjoined two adjective phrases. It also works for other types of phrases. Yeah, Mary did that very easily. You could say something like, Mary did that quickly and very easily. And you've got an adverb phrase and an adverb phrase. And what you can't do is conjoin two constituents of different types. So for example, you can't say Mary cooked the meal and very quickly, even because that's a noun phrase and an adverb phrase, even though Mary cooked the meal is perfectly fine, and also Mary cooked very quickly is also really fine. But you can't conjoin, the constituents following cooked in those two sentences. Okay, try it. Mary was very upset yesterday. Can you find an adjective phrase in here? Well, you can. Yeah, you can say something like Mary was angry and very upset. Yeah, so adjective phrase and adjective phrase yesterday. Okay, so we've seen three tests: the substitution test, the movement test, and the conjunction test. And in general, about tests for constituents, you can say that you should try out the different tests when you are working out what the constituents in a sentence are. And when a test works, this is good evidence that you're dealing with a particular constituent. Yeah. But when the test doesn't work, it doesn't automatically mean that the stretch of words is not a constituent or a constituent of a particular type. You need to try the other tests to make sure